What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. Week 12 preview predictions are kicking off today. We got two games on the slate for you, and we're going to start with what I believe is going to be the biggest one. As of right now, currently stands in the top 12 matchup. Could end up being a top 10 matchup when we find out the college football playoff rankings later on tonight. Very, very tough place to play in Corvallis, Oregon, and the Oregon State Beavers are hosting the undefeated top 5 team in the Washington Huskies. Another resume padding win for Washington versus creating college football playoff chaos for the Oregon State Beavers. That's what's on the line. It should be a fun one from Corvallis. We'll dive into all things Huskies and Beavers in a second. But you guys know I got to quickly say thank you for all the support the channel has seen as of late. And if you want to continue to help show your support for the channel, hey, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. That's the biggest way to help support me. Another big way is something a lot of people don't realize is just doing what you're doing right now and by watching the video. But there are more ways than that. Really, anything you do to interact with the channel helps to support it, whether that's liking, commenting, sharing, anything else in between. Anything you do to interact with the channel helps to support it, and it does, it does mean a lot to me. But with all of that out of the way, let's talk about Washington and Oregon State. Sorry, not feeling too well this morning while I'm recording this video, but we're going to talk about Washington. We're going to talk about the Oregon State Beavers. Let's dive on into the stats that both of these teams have put up so far this season. So you first have to dive in to the road team as we usually do, and let's talk about the Washington Huskies. We know the offense is the story of this team. Michael Penix Jr. is a Heisman frontrunner, 3,533 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. But as you've heard me talk about Washington over the past couple of weeks on my channel before, you'll know that this team, can move the ball really, really well. And they've even seen their running back, Dillon Johnson, emerge as a tried and true weapon. Dillon Johnson has 790 yards and 11 touchdowns on the year. He has really come along over the past 2 weeks as someone that can be another true threat to this offense. We know that Michael Penix Jr. can sling the football. We know this is a really, really talented group of wide receivers. Starts with Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, and you go ahead and move down the line in this wide receiver room. But Dillon Johnson has really started to come about his own here over the past couple of weeks. But again, I'm going to continue to harp on this Washington offense about turning the football over. 14 turnovers compared to only 12 that their defense has forced. Again, the 7 interceptions from Michael Penix. Dylan Morris does have an interception there as well. And then 6 fumbles here for this team. So that is 14 turnovers, and something that you just can't afford here against an Oregon State defense that will make you pay, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Other than that, they do great on third down. They do great at protecting their quarterback. Again, this is one of the most explosive offenses in the country, but you have to be able to limit turnovers in this game. That again, has been a huge key in the past couple of games, and especially will be big on the road in a hostile environment in Corvallis. Let's move on to talking about the defense here for the Washington Huskies, and you've probably heard me speak about this defense before. It's going to give Husky fans heart attacks, right? Yeah. To all my Husky faithful out there, this defense probably gives you not the best feeling as the game is going along. But you know what? This is a Husky defense that, while it may not rank tops in the country and pretty much any category, they force turnovers, but they're not tops in the country in that. Yeah, they can force pressure, but they're not tops in the country. They're not a great third down defense. They allow over 400 yards per game, over 23 points per game. But when it matters and when it needs to happen, this is the Washington defense that buckles down and is able to win games. For the majority of that Utah game this past week, this is the Washington defense that did not play well. And then right down the stretch, this defense buckled up its chin straps and really played some tough, hard-nosed football. Was able to come out with the win at the end of the day. It's a Washington team that's been able to grind out wins. Well, that's exactly what Oregon State has been doing all season long. They have just been grinding. This is a really, really tough, hard-nosed team, and led by their quarterback offensively, and DJ Uyunglele, 2,254 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 4 picks on 58% completion. Yes, while that isn't the greatest stat line in the world, DJ Uiagalelei definitely has had a lot of very, very good moments here that has resurged him as a tried and true starting option at the quarterback position. We know about the rushing duo that we see in the backfield here for the Oregon State Beavers, and it's the best part of their offense. Damian Martinez is a 1,000-yard rusher this year, 1,024 yards to be exact. Oh, and there are going to be a lot more yards to come for him. 7 touchdowns for him. There's also Deshaun Fenwick, 497 yards, 5.8 yards per carry. Oh, by the way, Martinez averaging 6.6 yards per carry, but 5.8 yards per carry for Fenwick, and then 5 touchdowns, and then DJU, 6 rushing touchdowns on the season as well. So this is an Oregon State team that, while they can throw the ball downfield, they do have some pretty nice receiving weapons there. Anthony Gold, Silas Bolden. You continue to go down the line in that wide receiver room, but it starts with the run with Martinez, with Fenwick, and then with DJU's ability to be able to get outside of the pocket. Pretty solid team there on third down. They don't turn the football over, and for the most part, this is an offensive line that performs really, really well. But it is a defense that has performed really, really well for the majority of this season. Now, the secondary is where this team hurts, right? The 230 pass yards per game. The secondary is going to have to step up a little bit more than usual here. They do have some really, really good moments, and in fact, it forced 41 passes defended, 12 interceptions so far this season, but they are susceptible to giving up the big plays. That's what Washington does. So the secondary is going to have to buckle down here. The rush defense should not be a problem. It's a really, really good defensive front for the Oregon State Beavers. It's also a really good defensive front when you talk about creating pressure and forcing turnovers. They've generated 10 fumbles. They've been able to recover 6 of them, and they generated 36 sacks so far this year. That is 3.6 sacks per game, as of course they have played 10 games. Pretty solid defense on third down as well. So again, when you go back to the turnover battle, Oregon State has forced 18 turnovers so far this year. Washington is -2 in the turnover department. Oregon State is +10. That's going to matter in games like this, and it leads me into my if my slide would change, into my what to watch for keys to the game, whatever you want to call it. It's things I think you should keep an eye on while you're paying attention to this one. We are going to start with the road team, the number 5 team in the country, and a college football playoff hopeful in the Washington Huskies. First off, Penix and company is going to need a lot of big plays here, especially through the air in the secondary. Dylan Johnson should be able to have some good moments, but you're not going to be able to have Dylan Johnson take over a game like he was able to do there against USC, and then at times like he was able to do against Utah. You're going to need Michael Penix. You're going to need this group of wide receivers to step up to make some really, really big plays and be able to get the ball down the field in a hurry, because this is a Washington Husky team that is very reliant on the big pass play. They are very, very reliant on being able to get the ball downfield, and it's also what Oregon State secondary is susceptible to. Now, you have to be careful about throwing in the turnovers. Obviously, that's something that Washington is going to have to limit. It is not a key here, but they do have to limit turnovers, especially running through or throwing it through the air. Washington's offensive line has done a really good job all season long. However, this may be the best pass rush, maybe besides the Oregon Ducks, that Washington has faced so far this season. So you have to be able to contain the Oregon State pass rush. You have to be able to contain some of these outside edge rushers, specifically guys like Andrew Chatfield, who has 9 sacks on the season. So you got to be able to contain the pass rush, need time for Michael Penix to make those big plays. And again, when you talk about this Husky defense, it gives Husky fans heart attacks, but it's a defense that keeps finding ways to grind out wins, and I think it's going to have to here again. When you go into Corvallis, very underrated, tough place to play, and I have been really, really, unfortunate. I can't find the word here that I want to use. Here you go. Really, really foolish on picking against Oregon State in Corvallis. Here's what they're going to need to do here to win this game. Well, DJ and Damian, that's DJ Uiagalelei, the quarterback, and Damian Martinez, the running back. Even guys like Deshaun Fenwick and some of the playmakers on the outside are going to need to grind through. They're going to need to be able to put on that extra layer of toughness, that extra layer of armor when the Husky defense does the same. When this game gets down to the nitty-gritty, when it gets down the stretch, when it's a one-score game with 5 minutes to go, when it's a one-score game with 10 minutes to go, 2 minutes to go, whatever scenario you want to cook up, DJ and Damian are going to have to buckle down, and this is an offense that's going to have to grind out plays, which, hey, Oregon State has no problem doing, which is why I think Oregon State has a pretty sizable advantage in this game, a lot more sizable than some people may think, but you have to be able to get Penix on the ground often. Now, this is a really, really good offensive line for the Washington Huskies, have not allowed a ton of sacks so far this season. That has to change here. This is a pass rushing unit with Andrew Chatfield, among others, that have to get Michael Penix on the ground. You have to be able to limit him from doing damage in the secondary, and you have to be able to limit Dylan Johnson from being able to do his part as well, which I think this Beaver rush defense is going to be able to do regardless, but you need to be able to get Penix on the ground early and often. Again, he is an absolutely dynamic playmaker. You cannot let him run around and do whatever he wants to do on the offensive end. I think the Beavers are going to win the turnover battle here. They've won the turnover battle all season. I think they're going to win it here. I do think they have the edge in physicality, and I also think it's why Vegas has them as a 2-point favorite. Now, it is really, really tough for me to pick against both of these teams. One, because Washington is sitting at undefeated. The way this Husky team is playing, they're just able to grind out wins, and they're really gearing up for the down-the-stretch run to get into the college football playoff. But I have been too foolish picking against Oregon State in Corvallis. I have been picking against them, and I am not going to make that same mistake that some other people, maybe even including myself, have made. I think Oregon State is going to edge this one out. I think the Beavers winning the turnover battle is going to be really, really crucial. I think that secondary, while it's going to give up the big plays here and there, and how can you not against this Washington defense, I think they're going to come up with a couple batted balls. I think they're going to come up with a pick or two that's really going to turn this game around, and this is an Oregon State offense that is good enough to be able to drive down the field and be able to get that game-winning drive, which may be what Oregon State needs in this game, but I think the Beavers in Corvallis pull off the upset against the Washington Huskies, and here we go. The shakeup to the college football playoff race begins this week. I think Oregon State beats Washington. Very, very close one. 31-30 is the way I see this one playing out. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below, and as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.